Hi, I'm Carmen Michael Smith, and welcome to another episode of Heart of the Moment. Now, gather round, gather round. We need to have a family meeting. Now, this topic is very sensitive, and so I've made some notes so that I can do this as lovingly and caringly and as intentionally as possible. Yeah, I just want to make sure that you understand where my heart is. Because in a previous post, I talked about homophobia in the Black community. And I thought about it afterwards and I was thinking, well, if racism is taught in the home, wait, so is homophobia. Homophobia is taught in the home. And in many Black households that were raised solely by Black women, it made me question, do Black women secretly hate Black gay men? I first want to say that this is not an attack. I love Black women. I've only gotten where I've gotten in my life due to the love and support of the angels that were Black women who showed up for me in many ways, from just many ways. And I'm an advocate for Black women, not just because I say so, but because my life shows it. The people in my life have receipts. So again, this is not an attack on Black women. This is that I love you so much that I want Black women to just have and be the best that they desire for themselves. Now, I will first say you got it by right. Something my therapist had said to me when I was talking about things that had happened to me is that you got it by right, which means to say it's not your fault. It was placed on you. You didn't just pick it up. And so I will say Black women having to be strong, you got that by right. You didn't ask for that. Yes, you are strong, but you didn't ask to have to be strong. You didn't ask for the men and your helpmates to be removed from the household. You didn't ask to have to play all of these different roles and meet all these goals and career points and all of this stuff and exceed expectations and get, every quarter up and up and up. You didn't ask to do all of that, but you've done it. And you've been strong through it, even when you were tired and when you were sick and when you were frustrated, when it was that time of month, when you were depleted, when your mental health was being challenged, when your own physical health just didn't even have it. You stood up and you showed up every day. You kept showing up for us, the Black kids, and making sure that everything was all right to the best of your ability. And to that I say, we are grateful and thank you. Those systems that gave it to you, that slavery, that welfare system, that Jim Crow system, that mass incarceration system, that war on drugs that removed the Black men and the fathers and the brothers and the uncles and the granddad, removed them from the community and from the household. You didn't do that. You got it by right. And there's been a cost, not just to you, the Black woman, but to the children of strong Black women. And a lot of the baggage that still sits in the closet, unpacked, in there is a lot of homophobia. And again, maybe you weren't aware, which is why I want to have this conversation. But I've heard many Black women say, as I often talk to Black women, that men need to get their stuff together. Men need to communicate or to tell me what's going on or to deal with their feelings. Like I can't read his mind. I can't figure out what's going on with him all the time. Like I can help, but you got to do some of the. I've heard Black women say this over and over and over. And I would ask, how can Black men grow up when we are never allowed to be boys? When from the beginning, we are told our role is to be like a man, is to be the man of the house because the man isn't there, that we have to step up, and I get it. Black women need help. They're like, I can't raise these kids by myself and I'm the only one here. And so these kids have to pitch in. And so it is the equivalent of saying, I need to be doing all of these things. So you, as my son, need to drive this car. Now he's 4 years old and you hand him the keys, he can't see over the wind. He can't see through the windshield, and he can't see down to even touch the pedals. But you need help, so you start training him very early how to drive this car, so that takes something off of your plate, and so that helps you and the family. But that also prevents him from growing up. And so he grows up in a way that is unloving to him. Bell Hooks talks about this, and I write on page 45 in my book her quote on masculinity and boys growing up. And she says, learning to wear a mask, the word is already embedded in the word masculinity, is the first lesson in patriarchal masculinity a boy learns. He learns that his core feelings cannot be expressed if they do not conform to the acceptable behaviors sexism defines as male. Asked to give up the true self in order to realize the patriarchal ideal, boys learn self-betrayal early and are rewarded for these acts of soul murder. I couldn't have written it any better, because it truly is an act of soul murder. Because a child born very balanced with very masculine and very feminine sides, feminine, soft, the brain is still soft. The emotions are still soft. The bones are still soft. Like, all of this is a part of growing up. But immediately told, all of that softness must go, because you are mama's little man, or even in some cases, daddy's little man. And you are a big boy, and big boys don't cry. Big boys don't show emotion. Big boys don't communicate anything other than rage and anger, because that is what will be protective, not only for the family and for yourself, but also for Black women. We see the post, Black men need to protect Black women. Black women feel unsafe. And again, you got that by right. That was a system of the slave owner or master coming in and taking women in the middle of the night, or Black women being raped and nobody caring about. That is a system that now Black boys are being trained up to combat against. But in doing so, we don't get to be boys. We immediately jump to training to be a man. And you say, well, Carmen, that's not really homophobia. Consider it this way. Homophobia is an attack on femininity. Femininity and female is two different things. Female would be like the hardware, the physical attributes, the outside, the hard stuff. Femininity is the software. No pun intended, soft. But it is the behavioral aspects and the cultural aspects of gender. So then you have the female physical parts of being female. And then you have femininity, which is the softness and cultural aspects. And we are told that the softness is the thing to despise. But it's not only us. Black women are told this. Black women are told to think like a man, be a boss, wear the pants, you a bad bitch. All of those things are to say anti-feminine, not female. Be a woman, but act like a man. Which we often, some friends and I were talking, and to add some levity, the joke was that I don't know why cis hetero men and women are still dating each other. You clearly don't like each other. And there's a joke in there, but there's also some seriousness to the fact that men like female. They like the physical attributes, but they don't want to sit around and talk about feelings and they don't want to sit around and talk about feelings and all of that sort of stuff. Men want the physical, the hardware, not the software. And the same goes for women. Women want the hardware of men, not necessarily any software in men, which is why Black women will often say, that's fine, but not my man. That's fine that you do that. That's fine that you paint your nails. That's fine that you have 2 earrings. That's fine that you do this, whatever. That's fine, but not my man. Because the software, nobody wants. That is what homophobia is. It is an attack on the feminine. It is to say that feminine has no place within society. Therefore, when we see any Black man displaying any femininity, then it is considered a big deal. It is considered derogatory. That's why no matter how many Bible verses we tell you have been misconstrued and how much homophobia is not a sin and all this stuff, we don't hear it because we're not really mad at female. We're mad at femininity. There's a war on femininity. And it's placed on Black boys because we're told from the beginning that femininity is bad. Therefore, we have challenges committing to relationships because femininity is bad. But in relationships, women don't want all of one thing. They want some balance. So that is the challenge that we face. That is the challenge that Black women face in being feminine themselves. And I think that there's as I said, a war on femininity that has been happening. But in our homes, we are paying the price. We are teaching in so many ways to our daughters to despise femininity, softness in a man at all. And we are teaching our sons to despise softness in themselves and in other men. And at the heart of the moment, Black trans women are dying at alarming numbers, not because they're being predators. It's because Black men see the femininity in another man and despise it. Homophobia is rampant in the Black church, not because the church doesn't know better for scripture. It is because we despise femininity in a man at all. And so that hatred and vitriol, that homophobia, is placed on people like me and your queer sons and daughters, because any type of softness in a man, the homophobia shows up. Whether he's an actor, whether he's just wearing fashion, that's fine, just not my man. And this is what gives birth to the video clips that we see where women, when angry, will question a guy's manhood first and foremost, calling him gay or picking apart what he's dressing or how he's eating or asking, why is he eating that? Like, why would you be eating a banana? Or why would you? All this stuff has nothing to do with his physical sexuality. It has to do with questioning his manhood because softness is not allowed. It is the core message behind calling a man sassy or zesty, because that is saying we don't like softness. We don't like femininity. So we will just call you gay, zesty, sassy, homo, any sort of term that we deem derogatory, because the derogatory terms are tied to femininity. And so we begin to perpetuate this homophobia. We see it happening every day. We see it happening in our homes. We see it happening in our community, and we have the power to stop it. But because I don't raise a family, because many Black women are raising Black sons and daughters, I would ask that you consider at the heart of the moment. This is an indictment. It's a call to awareness. Because where homophobia persists, Black women will always pay the cost. I want you to consider that where homophobia persists, Black women will always, always, always pay the cost. And that cost is a divided community, a divided family, and a divided home, because Black men will despise your softness when it shows up. Black men will not be able to communicate and provide balance in your relationships. And Black men will not be able to control their emotions because they've never been taught how to. Where homophobia persists, Black women will always be called on to be strong. I'm Carmen Michael Smith, asking you to let disruption be the catalyst for your liberation.